Love to save money? Who doesn't? But are overseas workers paying a price for our bargains? American companies set strict codes for working conditions.
Making sure there's proper ventilation, that they're paying their workers the minimum wage.
Are overseas factories living up to their end of the bargain? To find out, we set up our own company and brought our hidden cameras along.
For us, this is a pretty good shirt.
Wait till you see what we discover down these dark streets. And what happens when one worker visits America and finds the pants she makes selling for what she earns in a week. Chris Hansen with a Dateline hidden camera investigation. From our studios in Rockefeller Center, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. It's a safe bet that everything you're wearing tonight was made overseas. 95% of the clothing Americans wear is now made in foreign factories. For years, many U.S. companies have insisted that their foreign suppliers promise to pay and treat their workers fairly. Are those foreign factories living up to that promise? And are U.S. companies doing enough to guarantee they do? We wanted to find out. So tonight, Dateline takes you halfway around the world and takes our hidden cameras into places Americans don't usually see. Here's Chris Hansen with a Dateline hidden camera investigation.
Americans love a deal, and these days, thanks to the fast-paced global marketplace and big discount retailers, products are better and cheaper than ever. But what price do people in faraway places pay so Americans can get their bargains in stores like Walmart?
Now these are all pants.
These women's sports pants, for instance, sold under a brand owned by Sara Lee. Like most clothes, they're foreign-made.
It says Bangladesh.
Bangladesh?
Yeah, do you know where that is?
I have no idea.
And it's no secret to these shoppers why the $12.84 pants are made overseas.
Cheaper labor.
Right.
Consumers have come to expect those low prices to make ends meet.
I got a mortgage to pay, the car payment, and everything.
Tonight, we'll investigate what's behind the bargains American shoppers count on. With our hidden cameras, we'll find out who sews those pants and under what conditions. We'll see how problematic it can be for American companies to monitor working conditions in foreign factories they don't control, where factory owners are under pressure to keep costs down while still treating workers fairly.
They're very much happy with the management. Yes, they love us.
But how much do his employees really love their working conditions?
I can't even go to the bathroom without my supervisor's permission.
We'll invite two of the shoppers we met at Walmart, Vilma Matera and her sister-in-law Peggy Racciola, to take a look at the results of our investigation.
Vilma, what do you suppose life is like for the folks in Bangladesh who make these pieces of clothing?
I really don't have any idea. When I'm shopping, I don't have my mind fixed on the lives of the people that made the clothes.
Bangladesh, where those pants are made, is halfway around the globe. To an American, it can seem a universe away. It's a mostly Muslim country next door to India, where a handful of rich are surrounded by masses of poor. It's the most densely populated country in the world, a land overwhelmed by seasonal floods and frequent disasters. Life here can be harsh. Jobs are hard to come by, and the few there are pay very little. The average income is only $400 a year. The biggest industry by far is the garment business, which employs nearly 2 million people and exports more than $5 billion of clothing a year, much of it to American companies like Kmart and Gap. And the top customer here, Walmart. 12 years ago, American companies were embarrassed by a Dateline expose. Small children in Bangladesh making clothing for the U.S. market. They vowed to stop that practice. And in fact, human rights groups and American companies agree that child labor is no longer a major problem in Bangladesh's garment factories. And Dateline found no sign of it either. Kevin Burke heads the American Apparel and Footwear Association.
For the amount of time that we're talking about here, we've made tremendous strides.
But keeping children out of factories is only part of it. American companies now demand that foreign manufacturers follow strict rules, codes of conduct, and they even send in inspectors to check up on them.
Making sure there's proper ventilation and heating, that people are getting breaks, that they're paying the workers the minimum wage based upon the laws of that country.
But are American companies getting the true picture? Are all the rules really being followed? To find out, we create a fictitious company called Hanson Fashions, complete with our own website. And with our hidden cameras, we present ourselves as executives looking to do business in Bangladesh.
How do you do?
We ask Charles Kernigan to act as a clothing buyer for our company. He's a labor activist who's done battle for years with American retailers over working conditions in foreign factories. In conjunction with Kernigan, we call many factories, among them companies being monitored by local labor groups for poor working conditions.
This is the factory here.
Our first stop, a large factory that's done business with several American giants.
We work for Shears, Walmart, Kohl's.
We brought along a denim shirt.
For us, this is a pretty good shirt.
And asked if they could make one like it for our company, Hanson Fashions, to sell in the U.S. We explained that like other American companies, we're not just looking for the lowest price.
Of course, like you, a certain reputation in the United States, which we have to guard.
We want assurances that their working conditions are humane and that they comply with those codes of conduct required by U.S. companies.
We're certain that the factory is in 100% compliance and,
100% you can be. That's what I say.
To try to prove their point, they take us on a factory tour. We see American companies' codes of conduct posted in a public area. And they say they go further. They have a medical office for employees, though on the day of our visit, the doctor isn't in. On the factory floor, they assure us they don't overwork their employees.
So how many hours normally do they work?
8 hours, so it's 8 to 5,
really?
1 hour lunch break, plus 2 hours overtime up to 7 o'clock.
That's 10 hours a day, based on a 6-day work week. A total of 60 hours, the maximum allowed under Bangladesh law and most corporate codes of conduct. At a second factory where we take our denim shirt,
reinforced collar, fully vented sleeves, unbreakable
we hear the same kinds of promises about working conditions. And this executive boasts about his relationship with his employees.
They're very much happy with the management. Yes, they love us.
Oh, this is Fila?
Yeah, for America.
Most of what they make, they say, is headed for the U.S.
This is Kmart. Basic edition.
They make NFL sportswear.
Yeah, New York Giants. Wow, look at that.
At the second factory, we ask what kind of a deal they can give us on our denim shirt.
5.5, which is final. No bargaining.
$5.50 per shirt. That's less than half what it would cost to make at a factory in the U.S. We tell him we're interested, and the next day we return saying we're ready to close the deal, but only if he'll agree to sign a basic code of conduct.
This is our compliance code.
The terms include what many American retailers ask for: to obey local laws by guaranteeing 1 day off per week and a maximum of 2 hours overtime per day.
I think it is okay.
And he signs. We also want to make sure he's paying his employees at least the minimum wage, which in Bangladesh is extremely low, less than 20 cents an hour. So we're stunned when he says he pays 10 times that amount.
$2 per hour.
Per hour, $2 here.
$2 an hour. It sounds much too high to be true. We wonder if he understands us. So we ask again.
So you pay your workers $2 US an hour here?
He doesn't know that over a 2-week period, we've been monitoring his factory with our hidden cameras. We've been documenting the real working conditions and speaking with some of his workers.
With the money I earn, we barely survive.
Barely surviving, despite working long days and late nights.
What a life.
See what our shoppers have to say when they see our hidden camera tapes.
Dateline has taken its hidden cameras to Bangladesh to find out what life and working conditions are like for people who make the clothing we wear. We even created our own clothing company, Hanson Fashions, to gain access to the factory floor. And we found a remarkable young mother to fill in the rest of the picture. Once again, Chris Hansen.
Hello. When he thought we were buyers for a company called Hanson Fashions, this factory director in Bangladesh insisted he treated his workers fairly.
So you pay your workers $2 US an hour here?
He also promised us his workers had at least one day off a week, Friday, the Muslim holy day, as required by local law.
I think it is okay.
He even agreed to sign a code of conduct that included a promise his employees would not work more than 60 hours a week. But it turns out not all of his promises were true, something we discover only with our hidden cameras and from candid conversations with some of his employees who were introduced to us by a local labor group, like this young woman.
My name is Masuma. I work for the Wills Garment Company. I am a sewing machine operator.
Masuma says she's around 21. She doesn't seem to know for sure. Like most women here, she's barely literate.
I went to school for first grade. Then, my parents couldn't afford to keep me in school any longer.
On a typical day, she heads to the factory by 7:30. She has to be at her sewing machine by 8 o'clock sharp.
If I'm 1 minute late, my supervisor scolds me and gives me a hard time.
Remember those striped pants that sell for $12.84 at Walmart? It's Masuma who sews the stripes on them, and she sews them hour after hour with only a few breaks, sitting on a stool that has no back.
I have to sit in front of the machine the whole time. I can't move. I can't even go to the bathroom without my supervisor's permission. After sitting for so long, I feel pain throughout my body.
Conditions like these might seem unacceptable to Americans, but they're common in a poor place like Bangladesh. Extreme heat, for instance. Factories like Masuma's aren't air-conditioned, and even in a well-ventilated factory, we found temperatures can easily exceed 90 degrees. Masuma says she has a quota, 80 stripes an hour. That means more than one stripe every minute, and they have to be perfectly straight. If she doesn't meet the quota, she says she has to work extra for no pay. The factory director said his employees work a maximum of 10 hours a day and get out by 7 p.m. But Masuma told us her typical day ends later than that.
Usually I work till at least 8 p.m., but often they will keep us and make us work till 10 p.m.
And she says she frequently has to work Fridays, the Muslim holy day, which by law is supposed to be a day off. On average, she says she works more than 70 hours a week, at least 10 hours more than allowed by the local law. It's not hard to confirm that many factories run over that limit.
You can see them working right up here.
Just take a drive at 10 p.m., says labor activist Charles Kernigan.
It's 10 o'clock at night. They're still going.
We see lights on, people still at work at factory after factory, including this one, which happens to be that first factory we visited as Hanson Fashions. Remember, a few days earlier they told us they don't overwork their employees.
So how many hours normally do they work?
8 hours plus 2 hours overtime up to 7 o'clock.
Yet on the night we check, quitting time is 3 hours later than that, 10 p.m. And the workers are being frisked to make sure they haven't stolen anything. If you think 10 p.m. is late, try 1 a.m. That's when this video was taken with our hidden cameras inside a factory that makes clothes that end up at Kmart and Walmart. These workers who are racing to meet a production deadline have been on the job since 8 o'clock the previous morning, and they won't get out until 3 a.m.
So they'll be working 18 to 19 hours straight, and they have to be at work the next day at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We showed what we found to our bargain hunters.
18 to
and
19
they have to
hours
be
straight.
back at work at
Exactly.
8.
What a life.